welcome to Death Row.
Like we always do about this time.
I'm gonna fight your fucking ass!
You don't got, you're playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
There's a little snake in the grass.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
No forget Jesus, people.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I'm back.
Who the fuck is that guy? Break out the red panties. We're rich, baby.
I would like to introduce...
Welcome to the MMAforMoney Show, episode 69. Nice. In this show, we will review UFC 256 Figueiredo vs. Moreno and preview UFC Vegas 17, Thompson versus Neal. Yes, it's the last fight in the Apex before our break, and then we get to go to Fight Island, where fights don't get canceled. So we already have one fight canceled on this massive 16-fight, now 15-fight card. And as much as I don't want more to get canceled, because then this makes this show and the Draftkings picks less evergreen, I also kind of want it to happen because 15 fights is just too many. I am Bob Boss, your favorite garbage man at MMAforMoney, here with Real Mike Copenhaver. Don't cope, just win there on Twitter. And Mikey Gilman at Mikey Gills, again with a Z. That's a beautiful flashing hat. If you're not watching the video, you're definitely missing out right now. Follow the show itself. This show has its own Twitter account at MMAforMoney Show. Real Mike, how are you doing? I mean, I know you're not as quite as luminescent as Mikey Gills is doing, but how are you?
I'm doing absolutely amazing, man. Stoked to be here after another weekend of dominating UFC bets for you guys. It's been like 3-4 weeks in a row that the MMAforMoney team has just killed MMA. Even Mikey Gills killed the Draftkings last week. So stoked to be here with my boys and talk about the UFC and the last fights of the year, so we can talk about some devastating fights.
I jumped the gun.
That's fine. I needed to jump in. I needed to just let you go. But I need to explain something for all of those people that are listening and not watching. These are things you miss out on. You would be seeing, I don't know, he's resembling, basically, those are basically the exact lights I have on the exterior of my home, but they're on your head. So I just want to make people aware of just the wonderful things you miss when you don't watch live. But Mikey Gills, go for it.
No, I have to have these lights on because they're the only things keeping me awake at this point. Just exhausted, working for the post office. December. Oh boy, the year of COVID. We're gonna talk about this for years and decades to come at our job. This is the year that finally breaks all of us. But anyway, I'm excited to be here. That's the point. Excited. If you're watching live, you can see the pimple on my cheek. It's growing. It's gonna be the size of my head before this is all over. Let's go.
It'll get you a fifth light and a second red one, just right there. It's similar size, shape.
Don't worry, I'll take these off before we start breaking down fights because I can see like 2 fights into it. You guys are like, no, seriously, take it off. It's distracting. So here it goes.
It's fair. I'll just cover it up. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally...
I'm in favor of that hat. I like the lights a lot.
Okay, well, just for yours. Put it back on.
No, the best is going to be it's like you guys are like the grizzled veterans when you got new guys that are going to get hired at the post office like in a year or two from now, and because like we do the same thing at my job. Like we had a horrific like snow ice storm like 2 winters ago, and we had a new guy since then. You're like, yeah, this is kind of bad, but you weren't there for the storm of whatever. It just makes you feel better, and it makes them feel less than, and that just makes everybody else win. But we're gonna jump in because we have to, because this is a gigantic fight card. But actually, before we get to that, I gotta hit my tags. I gotta hit my lines. I gotta get the go. Just to get you guys in here with us, you gotta hear the old usual lines to get in gear. So let's get in here. Get in gear. The MMAforMoney Show is here live right now on Twitch, Periscope, on YouTube. If you're watching live, that is where you're watching. If you're not watching live, why didn't you watch live? That's like, you don't watch your sports after the fact. I mean, I do, but most people don't. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, the RSS feed. We have full-length shows there on YouTube. If you're watching live here, you're right there. Hit the like button, comments, all that wonderful stuff that I know I need to hype up more. So I'm getting used to that part. Subscribe. You'll never miss a show. Like, comment, share, and do that on your platform of choice. That's anything on Google Podcast, Apple Pod, anything. Comment, share, subscribe on any of those. They all make us feel good, and we're all about feeling good. I mean, obviously, this is episode 69. Let's keep going with that theme. Mm-hmm. But we're going to jump right into it because we have a gigantic fight card to go over. So we're going to probably go through 256 even faster than we should which kind of sucks because it was an amazing fight card that we kind of crushed. So I will go through all of the results as I have them listed. We'll jump back for a few, and then we'll talk about how we made you tons of money and how DraftKings killed. But like that's all just, it's becoming an old hat. And I'm not even wearing a hat. Again, I'm the only one that's not. I need to get into that. Chase Hooper, minus 380, came back from death for a round 3 heel hook. Sergey Spivak, no, that fight didn't happen. I really wanted that one to happen. Tisha Torres got a TKO, or for my personal benefit, inside the distance, because I had a small bet, a personal bet on that. Again, keep an eye on our Twitter accounts because sometimes we'll throw out extra ones that we don't have on here. Yes, it was a TKO because of doctor stoppage, but I don't care. Counting it. Billy Corantillo got himself beat by Gavin Tucker. I'm pretty surprised about that one. Mackenzie Dern got the unanimous decision victory over Werner Jandirova. It was pretty close, at least in my opinion, but she still got the win. Cub Swanson turn back time. I mean, well, not really, because Daniel Pineda has been in the UFC and then out of the UFC for a long time as well. But okay, whatever. We're going to go with the turn back time. He shared it up. He shared it up real good. Junior Dos Santos. Oh, man, that was rough. That was some people are arguing back to the head, but he was turning. That elbow really messed him up bad in round 2. And again, like I said, there's at least one fight for card, and apparently this one had more than one. I give credit to Mike Gills for that, but there's always at least one sad fight of the night. This was what I thought the sad fight of the night was going to be. You know what? Right back at it for the next one. There was another sad fight of the night. Kevin Holland not only knocked out Souza, but actually kind of dominated on the ground, and then like not even really up to a knee yet, threw a strike and knocked out Souza, which is ridiculous. And that GIF will circulate forever. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I know everyone's all about the Joachim Buckley finish. That's KO of the year. That's fantastic. This guy like was basically elevated his legs off the ground and just threw a strike and knocked out Jacare. So I don't know. This is kind of working its way up for me. Sorry, just trying to move on. Our first bet of the night cashed with Fiziev getting that TKO left hook in the first round against Moicano. Then our second bet of the night cashed with Charles Dobronx Oliveira, almost getting that sub in the first round. So I'm happy we didn't go with inside the distance, but just battered Ferguson for the better part of 3 rounds. Got the unanimous decision there. So we were plus 2.45 units on the night for you guys. Just a clean sweep there. And then in the main event, we had a majority draw because Davison Figueiredo kicked Brandon Moreno a little bit too hard in the crotch region. Otherwise, that's a clear sailing win if you wouldn't have taken off that point. We didn't have a bet on the main event because we don't bet on the main events. And this is why, because I would have been like, hey, man, Figueiredo inside the distance, obviously. And obviously not. So I already did our quick bet recap. I'm going to give it to Mikey Gills to go over his DraftKings recap. And then I'm for sure going to hit at least 3 of those. And then we're going to give that to everybody for it. So Mikey Gills, how did we do on DraftKings?
Okay, so technically it's 3.5 out of 6. I'm going to call it 4 for a few reasons, and we will get to those as we go down. But we scored 476 points on this. Not bad at all. If everything would have hit the way we wanted to, it should have been 506. Yeah, my math is terrible right now. My brain's not working. It should have been over 500. We'll get to that in a second. We're going to start off. Tisha Torres, 121 points. Her opponent was a total fraud. And you know me, when I see those fraudulent records, I get a little excited. I was so excited that I put money down for a Tisha Torres finish, which is it's basically the Haley's Common of MMA. So congrats to all of us for picking it. Bob, I think you said you put the inside the distance bet down. So boom, let's go. Next up was Gavin Tucker. First underdog of the night that cashed for us. I picked Tucker to win outright, and that always feels good. Like, you don't always pick your DraftKings underdogs to win, but this one was a straight up underdog pick that cashed for us. Going into it, I really liked Tucker's the difference in his stand-up arsenal is why I picked him to beat Billy Q, and that turned out to be really the difference in it. Next up was Werner Jandirova. This didn't surprise me too much. I did pick Dern to win the fight, but for DraftKings underdog money, I thought it was close enough that Werner had a decent chance to win. Only cashed for 36.5 points. That kind of sucks. Next up, Kevin Holland. Boom, 97.5 points. He had some weird, like, Space Jam arm stretch punch that just caught Jacare from halfway across the cage, even though he was sitting literally in his lap basically at the time. Weirdest knockout I've ever seen. It surpasses Nico Price for the greatest like knockout while you're still on the ground punch I've ever seen. Love it. Next up, Tony Ferguson, and only 9.5 points. I'm going to quote my brother here. Tony Ferguson's cooked. He's cooked. And it came through in this fight. I don't want to take too much away from Charles Oliveira. I did pick Tony Ferguson to win this fight, but it didn't really work out for my boy Ferg. Not sure where he goes from here. Last up, Davison Figueiredo, 81.5 points. Now, here is some added value is if you follow us on Twitter, if you follow all of our individual accounts, you would have seen me in a bit of rare form. If you follow me, I live blog this fight after every single round, and you could see little excited. We'll just go ahead and call it excited. Maybe one too many of these. But no, Davison Figueiredo looked great. Aside from the ball kick, he should have won that fight. I thought he did enough to win it. I did score it live, a draw. Unfortunately, that did cost us an extra 30 points. But again, 476, 3.5 out of 6, not bad. I'll take 476. If you told me 476 went into any card in a lot of double up tournaments or triple ups, you're usually going to be on the better side of that. So 476, boom.
Intentional pause. Sorry, every time there's a pause now, I'm just going to say intentional pause. It makes me feel better about not being as fast on the pen when the pen is like, hey, do I have ink? I don't know. Again, doesn't matter. Real Mike. I want to hear your thoughts on a couple, and then afterwards we can pass it to Mikey Gills. But first, I want your opinion on, I don't care anyone who's, for some reason, everyone's saying it's an early stoppage. I don't agree. And I doubt you agree as well. But just how awesome Fiziev looked against like a one-time surging prospect, Renato Marcano. Just overall thoughts on that fight, the finish, and where you want to see him after this.
Yeah, well, I was stoked to pick Fiziev for our fight on our bet because they obviously made it so easily a win for us. Cashed it with a beautiful knockout. I think that it was justified because the fact that once Moicano got up, he stumbled right back down on the ground and almost fell down again, even when he tried to argue. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. Do you really want to see the guy die? Because, I mean, my boy was unloading combos and good head movement. A couple times Moicano rocked Fiziev a little bit harder than I actually like to have seen. But that's because Moicano does have some really, really good, straight, crisp boxing. That's why I liked him in the past. So he used it quite well for a little bit. But then Fiziev's, dude, his defense and world-class striking, man. When I say, like Adesanya is the best striker in the UFC, that this is number 2, in my opinion, on the just world-class, just beautiful striking, defense and offensively. Fiziev, he's the man, dude. I don't know exactly where I want to see him yet because I just love him so much. I don't want them to kill our star, but I'd like to see them test him versus someone with some really good wrestling and, not crazy stand-up, so I could see him maybe possibly knock out another guy.
Mike Gills, do you have anything specific on this one? I mean, I know you didn't have this one in DraftKings, but how'd you like Fiziev's? I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. I'm just calling him Fizzy. Just Fizzy.
No, the only thing that I would add to that was the George Gurgel Ancestry.com. It turned out to be true. Tried standing, couldn't do it, didn't work out. Boom, Fiziev.
Yeah, baby. Cash it.
Again, for those who didn't watch the live show yesterday, you didn't see me completely and utterly lose my collective stuff when he made the George Gurgel reference. It hit me in just the perfect way because that was one of the earlier seasons of Tough I watched, and then you just would watch this guy fight who supposedly has like the best jiu-jitsu that like we had ever seen, and he never did anything but throw hands, and he wasn't even that good at that. So I beyond laughed. If anything, I'm green with jealous rage over this fight because Mike gave it out as a pick. I gave mine out as a pick. I bet mine right away, and then I was waiting because I was planning on doing some more bets. So I kind of walked away, just have things mulling over in my brain, and then I start seeing this downtrend. So because we gave Fiziev out at minus 155, I believe, to win 1 unit, and he just started dropping. I did not understand it, but apparently a lot of steam started coming in on Moicano, and I started seeing Fiziev getting closer and closer to even money. I'm like, I might get this guy at dog money. So I got a little bit greedy. And I kept waiting, and I kept waiting. I saw it get down to minus 120. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is for sure going to hit plus money. I was like, I went to bed on, it was Friday night. It's still minus 120. I'm like, I'm going to bet this tomorrow morning. I'm going to have plus money. This is awesome. And then I did as many are wont to do and just plain up forgot. And then the fights are about to start. And I'm just like, I never bet Fiziev. And I like to have it all so I could put it out. I usually put my bets out earliest Friday afternoon, latest Saturday morning, and yeah, that one just never got it in. So I missed out on that, but you guys got to cash because obviously that was the correct
It's all
lane on
good.
that one.
I called Bob out right after. I was like, "Holy shit,
Dude, he
that's
did. I know.
crazy."
I was so pissed. I completely. I did that. That's how much I spaced because I posted my bets on Twitter as I do, and you said like later on. It wasn't even like right then. It was like as the fights were going on. You were like, "Didn't you even back me?" I was like, "What do you mean I didn't back you?" I looked at my bets. I'm like, "No, the fight had already happened." So I'm allowed. My brain scrambled sometimes. That's why if you ever notice I start to ramble, it's not all up there. It's not all okay up there, but it's enough to be able to communicate to you in somewhat eligible situations. Moving on, going to the co-main event, which we also cashed. This one was my bet. Dobronk straight ran through Ferguson. He almost had that. Like literally anybody else would have tapped to that in the first round. And honestly, most any other refs, sorry, may or may not have called that because they would have thought something happened to the arm. That was just ridiculous. I am so pumped on Dobronx right now. Can't even believe it because and I know me and Mike had talked about it beforehand. Real Mike, sorry, that we were so big on him and we really thought, and especially I know for sure it was Real Mike who brought up that he thought it was a good chance that he was going to win by decision, whereas I just knew he was going to win. I didn't want to go either way with it, but so big kudos for calling it that specifically. But we'll go with Real Mike first on thoughts on the fight, and then we'll go Mikey Gills because I know you were on the Ferguson side, but going forward for how you would place Dobronx in any type of DraftKings spot or how you like him. But first, Real Mike, and then we'll go Mikey Gills for Dobronx's performance this past weekend.
Oh man, well, it was an absolute pleasure to watch Dobronx fight this past weekend. I mean, we've been watching him since he was a young man in the UFC, just arise into his prime. Like I said last week, I knew that Tony was going to be in a lot of trouble when his jiu-jitsu was his best asset, and it was going to be canceled out. And if not, Oliveira was going to have the edge. A lot of people disagreed with me on in that statement, but I mean, it showed sure as shit when Oliveira had him deep in that armbar. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been in an armbar like that, but dude, he had it so fucking deep and locked under his armpit at the end of it that I mean, bro, I was screaming, crying. I thought that it was gonna break, bro. I just never in my life am I letting anyone get that deep on me, and because I would tap before. There's like I said, I don't know if he's made of rubber. I'm pretty positive he got damaged somewhere in his arm, but I mean, the fight was amazing. It was an absolute treat for mixed martial art fans to watch, to see someone like Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira roll on the ground and scramble and defend certain positions. It was absolutely delightful. And then we not only did we get that joy, but we got the joy of cashing the bet. We got plus money on Charles Dobronx Oliveira, which we jumped on quickly. Another win for the podcast is 2-0 this week, and we just been on an absolute domination roll. Hope to close it out this last week.
Yeah, just real quick personal story about the Tony Ferguson thing. Ocean City Classic, probably 2007. It was actually the same night that Forrest Griffin beat Shogun. I had my elbow popped in a jiu-jitsu tournament. I can testify firsthand. It does hurt like absolute hell, and mine didn't go anywhere near as bad as Tony did it. But getting right back to this fight, I think the biggest takeaway that we have to talk about is this puts an end to any of the arguments that Tony would have had anything at all for Khabib. Just would have had absolutely nothing.
He would have gotten absolutely smashed on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. He would have offered nothing. So I'm glad, even though we didn't get to see the fight, we did get to see the answer. So I do like that. And just going on Oliveira real quick, like, I don't want to sound like a hater, and if maybe we can pull up the top 5 if we need to, but like, I just where he goes from here, I don't know anybody else at the top of the ladder in that division that Oliveira is going to be able to go out there and beat, because nobody else out there can be so easily taken down like Tony can, And I look, Oliveira impressed the hell out of me going out there and just dominating him on the mat and getting those submissions in on him. I just don't know who else he does that to at the top. So it's going to be really interesting to see who they match him up with next.
No, one tricky thing for me with Dobronx going forward is he's going to be a dog in every subsequent fight that he has against the top of the division, except maybe against Poirier if they would fight, but like against Gagey, against Connor, whoever, he's going to be the dog. One hard thing about those fights, he obviously is going to be at a disadvantage in some of them, but in both, just go with those two for an example, Gagey, Connor, he also has a clear path to victory in both. Gaethje got absolutely tooled when it got to any type of high-level BJJ context with Khabib, and Conor has been tapped out several times. So obviously that first round to round and a half versus Conor, very dangerous for Do Bronx, very dangerous. It just hits so damn hard. And even though Do Bronx has gotten better with his defense, he still gets hit a little bit, and that shot could put him out. Very possible. And Gaethje is forward pressure, all go, all that stuff. But it's gonna be one of those weird situations where he'd be the dog in both the scenarios, but he actually has a path to victory. I'm not saying I'd pick him in those right away. I mean, I would need to see those come up close. But I know you don't think so, but rewatch Khabib versus Gaethje.
Yeah, I get that, but Oliveira doesn't have Khabib's takedowns, top control. Obviously, I didn't know that Gaethje going into that fight had absolutely no jiu-jitsu.
Well, no one did. No one did, because we never saw it.
Nobody fucking did.
With how fast Do Bronx can scramble to the back, like he doesn't even necessarily have to get him down.
Mm-hmm.
He could just get onto his back. But
yeah, maybe.
So I was stoned. We were talking about Oliveira beating Gaethje.
Yes.
I'm just saying he has a path to victory. I'm not
saying I believe it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Jiu-jitsu far superior.
He's going to go forward, obviously, and he can take a beating. But just we saw the complete lack of depth once it got to the ground. Yeah,
it'd be a leg kick problem that Oliveira would have, I think.
Yeah, and boy, those leg kicks are just, man. I'm sorry. Like I am perpetually a believer in Gaethje's leg kicks, so I would give him mad credit in any fight he's in just because of those, because he's taken too many people out there. We're focusing too long on this. Obviously, we have way too many fights to go over. Sorry.
Yeah.
Future context. Obviously, we have some weeks in the future where there's not as many fights going on, and we could really get into that. But you know what? I don't know. Sorry. I just really see, for sure, if Conor doesn't knock him out in the first 2 minutes, I would not be shocked. Do Bronx just completely utterly choked him out. And Gaethje, with how he looked against Khabib, it's kind of similar. It's just going down and just snatching up something. Love it. Sorry, moving on. Briefly talking about the main event. Obviously, we had no money on it, no pick per se. It was a fantastic fight. Really, my only takeaway from it is if they ran it back, I still think that at this point, Davison is better. But with how improved Moreno looks, if there's a 2 to 3 fight gap in between, I would really start to favor Moreno more heavily. But if they run it back like Dana's talking about, I'm just kind of still on the Davison Figueiredo train personally. So thoughts, we'll go Mike Gills first, and then real Mike, thoughts on that one before we move on to the gigantic card that we need to get to. I'm aware, I'm looking at the clock, we're working on it.
Well, mine will be quick because I was blackout drunk. I have to watch the fight again. I honestly don't remember much of it. So Mike,
that's fair.
What do you have?
Yeah, the fight was I don't know why I was giving Moreno so much credit during the fight. I just was, maybe I was just shocked that Figueiredo was a little bit human. But I brought that up on the podcast last week in the sense of this is a second weight cut in a few short weeks. It's very hard on the body, and that we might see something that might be a detriment to him in his cardio or something. And that's kind of what we saw here, was that Moreno had a little bit better of a chance. The fight was amazing. Moreno was a savage. But I really think that if Davison had a full camp, if he was healthy, didn't cut weight twice in 1 month, I think that we'd see a whole different fighter, bigger gas tank. We'd see a much clearer scorecard, especially with the nut shot. But man, dude, that was a nut shot and a half. I was just waiting for his balls to come out of his mouth.
One thing I will take credit for, because I clearly saw this and I knew it would be a thing, and it did happen. It just didn't result in a finish, which is actually utterly surprising to me. Was I talked about one of the main reasons for me liking Davison Figueiredo and thinking he can get the finish was how Moreno comes into strike. I joked that he was early on alpha male guy who would just swing wildly and throw his chin forward. So an uppercut was right there. And a couple times he got landed on viciously by Davison Figueiredo. And kudos to him, dude. Kid stayed conscious. So that is, big kudos on his chin, because those hit him flush. It was beautiful. But we need to move on. I am well aware. So just quick review. I know. Quick review. Yes, we 2-0 for plus 2.45, and DraftKings was
476. Three and a half.
476. There you go. So just wanted to quick throw that out there before we jump into the massive fight card that is Vegas 17. We're going to try to move this along. So honestly, if there's ones that we don't have like a lot on, I don't mean a lot of information. I just mean a lot of interest. We're probably going to kind of skate past a little bit. Like if there's these ones that like we don't have a bet on and there's no like real DraftKings lean, it's like they may start getting pushed away. Because honestly, like at least 3 or 4 more of these fights going to get canceled. Let's be honest. So the very first fight on the fight card is Rick Glenn minus 325 versus Carlton minus with the plus number plus 265. Mikey Gills, Rick Glenn versus minus.
All right, well, just starting off with the whole like keeping it short thing. If you need a governor on me, just ring a bell or something. Me, I'll ramble all night.
I'm going to do this motion, and if you guys can't see, it's like the whoopee finger swirl with both fingers simultaneously. That'll be the signal.
All right, we'll start off with Rick Glenn, 21-6. Don't give me the signal already, Jesus. 21-6, 10 knockouts, 5 subs, going for 9,500 on DraftKings. 3-3 since entering the UFC. He lost his last fight, but that was all the way back in November of 2018. He needed to have hip surgery. He's basically blue from old school. You're my boy. Sorry. Anyway, better striker. He'd be better off keeping it standing in this fight. Going up against Carlton minus. God, I'm talking fast. I'll slow it down just a little. 10-2, 6 knockouts, 1 sub, 6,700 on DraftKings. One thing about this guy that stands out to me, he's an Alaskan FC guy. We have talked about him on the show before. Guys from that promotion, you always want to kind of maybe take a little grain of salt with them. He lost his UFC debut back in August. Shocker, Alaskan FC. He has fought UFC guys before. He took an absolute beating from Rick Story, and then he beat Justin Buckles. For me, this fight comes down to how Rick Glenn's going to deal with a long layoff. But if he comes back in shape and ready to go, he's definitely the better overall fighter. He's got the size and reach. So Glenn's my pick. Just have to hope he's not too rusty.
Yeah, on this fight, I really can't give a fuck about this matchup. But Rick Glenn should win this fight. He's the OG. He's got way more experience in the octagon. Like you said, the other guy, Carlton minus, he's literally a C minus fighter from Alaska at FC. Like you said, he should see his way back there and get some Alaskan King crab because he's going to get beat up by Rick Glenn.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, agree with both, but agreeing with Mike Gills, really the layoff is the only thing. This minus 325 when you've had that much time off is even against an Alaska FC guy.
The number's ugly. The number's ugly. Don't bet this. We're not betting this.
Yeah, said don't bet this at all. Pick his Glenn. I mean, I know that I think I heard an interview with him. He's picked up at least part-time work to try to make ends meet because obviously he's been fighting for 2 years. He had an injury layoff, got his hip worked on, and moved back to Iowa. He's not an alpha male anymore. And obviously picks there, but don't even put this in a parlay. Don't tempt fate in that way. Just it's just frankly, it's not worth it. Jimmy Flick,
yes,
against minus 150. I won't make the terrible dad joke this time. I did that last time. If you want to go back 2 weeks, you hear a couple terrible dad jokes I made off the Flick name. We'll move on. He's facing Cody CT Durden, CT for Cody Tyler. It's just where I'm going with it. That's what happened last show. Deep cuts. Plus 130. Real Mike, how you feeling about the Flick versus the Durden?
With this one, my pick is not Flick. It will be Cody Durden. I think that he's more well-rounded. He's training at ATT. He's got a bunch of experienced fighters that roll with every single day that are way more diverse than Jimmy Flick. Way better jiu-jitsu than Jimmy Flick. I think that the camp move, everything is in favor for Jimmy Durden. The only thing that we can say is that he had a pink eye infection, which really doesn't mean anything to me because fighting is fighting, and these guys should want to fight with one eye if they have to. So this is going to be our first bet of the podcast. So we're going to be putting 1 unit down on Cody Durden. And what are the odds at right now, Bob?
Plus 130.
So at plus 130, 1 unit for Cody Durden to absolutely dominate this fight. I think it'll be a decision victory, but it'll be quite easy.
Yeah, just Jimmy Flick on DraftKings, 8,700. Cody Durden, 7,500. We broke down this fight 2 weeks ago, went completely in depth. In the interest of saving time, I'll just give you the overview here. Cody Durden, for me, he's just better on the feet, more power, better technique. He can keep it there if he needs it to, and then on the ground, physically much stronger of the two, stays busy. He can grapple his ass off. I believe it was 2-time All-American. Wrestling, I just think Cody Durden's going to win this fight. I was in agreement 2 weeks ago, still in agreement now.
Intentional pause. Sorry, again, I realize I have to mention it because if you're thinking, you're probably thinking on the audio, you're probably thinking I cut out. I'm just pausing because just we already broke down this fight. My feelings are predominantly similar. I mean, I know he's going down in a weight class, so I think he's going to be big enough. The Durden that is bigger and strong enough to be able to keep things on the feet where he has the edge on the ground. Flick has some pretty decent submissions, so it makes sense on DraftKings that he's the salary he is, because if there's a finish, it's likely going to be Jimmy Flick. But I think that Durden will be able to keep it up on the feet for a longer period of time, maybe even some pressing against the of the fence, and he'll be able to get some strikes off and outpoint him. Like I would like to say at absolute worst 29-28, but I mean, depending on the judge, I kind of wish that we knew who was going into this, given how bad things have been. But you know what? I'm not going to complain, because honestly, judging's been bad for a long time. Just it ebbs and flows with the degree of terrible. So here's hoping that they're pretty much on the money, which what I think where we have our money on Cody Durden at the plus 130. So that's 1 unit to win, 1.3 there. Okay, next up we have Tafon Nakukwi, the Teflon one, minus 300 versus Jamie Pickett plus 250. Mikey Gills, where are you at on this fight?
Yeah, it's start off with Tafon, Nakukwi, whatever we want to call it. It's 4-0, 4 knockouts, 9,400 on DraftKings. Cameroonian, if we want to start making unnecessary comparisons to other UFC fighters, have at it, go for it. Making his UFC debut, he does in his brief fight career, he held a win over Anthony Knight, who was a scary man. If you don't remember Anthony Knight, he just put away Stipe's BFF, Alexa Kamer, in pretty devastating fashion. We bet him on DraftKings, and it worked out for us. I'm actually familiar with this guy before that. He's from Hyattsville, Maryland, very close to where I grew up. He used to fight in our local Shogun promotion, and I think it was only his 3rd fight, but I was there, watched it, and he did put a guy away with a flying knee. It was pretty devastating. So, hometown guy, let's go. Just stylistically, very powerful striker. He doesn't try to blow you away with any flashy stuff. He'll just throw very hard and very devastating. Comes out of Lloyd Irvin's camp. Don't think we need to hold that against him. I've never seen him in any parking garages, so don't worry about it. He's probably a good guy. Going up against Jamie Pickett, 11-4, 8 knockouts, 1 sub, 6,800 on DraftKings. Also making his UFC debut after winning on Dana White's Contender Series. The UFC really seems to want to push this guy. He had 2 losses on the Contender Series before finally winning on his 3rd try. Don't think I've ever seen that before. Perhaps he has like a Dana Ronda tape that none of us know about. I don't know. One other thing I really noticed about him is very super questionable competition. You know, I hate that. In 15 career fights, he hasn't fought anything he hasn't fought the level of competition that Nchukwi has in just 4 fights. So just that's one thing to think about. One thing that stands out to me stylistically is how open he leaves himself in exchanges. He swings very wild, blitzes in with his chin out in the air. That does not spell good one. So for that, easy pick for me, hometown guy Nchukwi. I think he's going to Hulk smash this dude in the 1st round. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to say the same thing. Teflon is just is better everywhere around in every aspect of mixed martial arts, in my opinion. I don't like the negative 300 price tag or whatever it's at. I think it's a little hefty if I was personally going to bet it, but I mean I guess it's warranted for he should absolutely dominate this guy, and like you said, Hulk smash a little Jada Pickett. So I think that it will be, Teflon by domination, TKO, KO, and but like I said, this is not something I find value in or want to bet.
Just 2 quick corrections. It was William Knight, not Anthony Knight.
What did I say? Oh,
Anthony.
sorry.
No, it's fine. Just clarifying in case before anyone sends angry tweets. Second, Real Mike, how dare you bring up the name of the one and true First Lady of our country, Jada Pinkett Smith.
You like that?
Towards
Did
Jada
you like that? I threw it. It was perfect, dude.
I'm still upset that she was killed in Scream 2.
I'm still mad at her and Menace to Society, bro.
I'm still mad she didn't have a bigger part in the Matrix trilogy. I mean, in the video game she did, but in the actual movie, they barely gave her anything. Sorry, deep cuts. So,
I had to think about that one for a second. I was like,
dude, you never played the Matrix related video game? It's awesome. It's basically just all about her and the Asian dude who is her partner. It's the entire game is just them two as a subcategory of the movie.
She should have saved Tupac and kept him safe in the cave somewhere.
Sorry. Again, deep cuts. Moving on. I'm with the Teflon one. Again, minus 300 is ridiculous for anyone who's 4-0 in the UFC, but he should win here. This just kind of, they're feeding this to him. They want him to get a win. They want to build off his name. He seems like someone that they can get behind. I mean, they're already big on the Georgians. Maybe the next one's the Cameroonians. I don't know. But either way, this is tailor-made for him. They think he's going to take Pickett out. I tend to agree, but minus 300 against somebody that hasn't really experienced what the UFC has to offer, that's just not going to be a thing that's going to happen for me. So next up, Draco Rodriguez, minus 185 versus... I want to make fun of Amin Zahabi so bad, but you can't even he's the light or the ugly duckling like you were going to bring up for the other fighter that got canceled, because his brother doesn't actually, I mean, he fought a little bit, but he's just a really, really good coach. So I don't know if it still applies, but if his brother was a fighter, then Amin would for sure be the worst one. Plus 160 there on Zahabi. Real Mike, Draco versus the other Zahabi.
Yeah, I think Draco's going to win here. I think that he's just a meaner, tougher dude in general, more well-rounded in mixed martial arts. The only thing that really I think Zahabi has a chance at is that he's just tricky. You know, he ends up, you know, the Zahabi brothers are very, very smart in mixed martial arts. His brother's a very great coach, but that doesn't mean you're a great fighter. Once you get punched in your face, it all goes away. So I think that Zahabi's that type of guy that once he gets hit in his face, that it all goes away. You know, that black belt in jiu-jitsu turns into nothing else. So I don't trust Zahabi at all. I think that if you liked him at all, you might put him inside the distance, but from submission maybe. But I don't like him at all. I think Draco Rodriguez wins this and just pretty easily.
Yeah, no, I like Draco too. 7-1, 2 knockouts, 4 subs, 9,100 on DraftKings. Looking at his career, he turned pro in 2017, but if you dig a little bit deeper, he had a 13-0 amateur record, so a lot more experience than his pro record would let on. He only has 1 loss, and it's to current UFC fighter Tony Gravely going up against Zahabi. Yes, he is the ugly duckling. I don't care, you know, for us and like kickbox or whatever, you know. Anyway, 7-2, 3 knockouts, 3 subs, 7,100 on DraftKings, 1-2 in the UFC. But he's only fought 3 times since 2016. Both of the last 2 were losses. You go through his career, again, I harp on this, and you guys are probably sick of hearing it, but records that I don't respect. He only has 1 respectable win on his resume. It was back in 2017, Reginaldo Vieira. That we all love Reginaldo Vieira. But Draco Rodriguez is the pick. Like, Zahabi, going through, I just don't see that him seeing himself as like a real MMA fighter. It seems like he's just been taking favorable matchups whenever he feels like fighting, as opposed to somebody like Draco, who is taking the time to build his amateur record, taking the time to get the right fights as a pro. You know, his record's a little shaky too, but he is fighting like Tony Gravely's, and he's working his way up the ladder like a good pro should. So for me, Draco, he's the guy. You know, pro boxing experience as well. He can also win a lot of his fights by submission. This is a guy that's building his styles up. So yeah, I'm going to take Draco in this. 24 years old, seems to be doing it the right way. And Zahabi seems like a next logical step kind of opponent.
Right off the gate, pick is Draco here. I think he's an actual fighter. What I think has happened with what I think has happened with Amin Zahabi is if any of you did sports growing up, Amin Zahabi is the same thing of any sport you've ever done for the coach's kid. He knows every play. He knows every position to be in. He knows every route. He knows every whatever, because not only does he do it in practice, but then there's subsequent practice after that with his dad. And he's the perfect little soldier. The talent isn't there, but like he could run the place. So like he's really good at defense. And like for basketball, he's really good at defense. He knows where everyone's supposed to go. He's okay at passing. He's not that fast. Doesn't jump very high. Can't really shoot well. Like he's the guy that gets good at free throws, but not good at anything else because there's too much contact. This is a long explanation, basically just be like, he's the teacher's pet. He's the coach's, like, I guarantee you he was the guy that anytime his brother was teaching a lesson, he would bring up Amin Zahabi to perform it in front of people because technically he's perfect. He's the perfect person at a dojo to show you stuff and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't make him a fighter. It just makes him be able to take instruction. And when the strikes start getting thrown, he goes inward on himself and he can't click it in. He doesn't have the knack for violence that most of these fighters need, or the fluidity on the ground to just like shut his brain off and act. He has to think through everything. It's a detriment here that he's like supposedly as smart as he is. He has to think through everything. So he will think of the best thing to do, but there's a fraction of a second that it takes him to get to that point. And by the time he gets there, he's been hit 2 more times. So I just don't like him here. The -185 on Rodriguez is a bit high for me, so I don't have a bet on it. But I do think Zahabi is going to be one of the 60 to 85 people that are going to be cut in the next 30 to 60 days. So I guess we'll find out on Saturday, but I just don't see it happening. Next
or they hold it above Faras's head, like, hey, we'll keep your brother, but you have to get GSP back.
Movie analogy. It's like the Little Giants, but Zahabi is the guy that's wrapped up in the bubble.
Yes.
So he's not really on the team. He doesn't really help anybody. He doesn't really. It's just there. But he learned some stuff. He's smart because he's a nerd.
Yeah,
but
he
he's
comes
not a
up with
fighter.
the annexation of Puerto Rico.
Exactly.
There you go.
He forgot to bring the inhaler. So he's just not going to do it at all. He's that extra little gear he can't hit into.
Mic drop.
Sorry, I'm always a Little Giants fan. And again, whoever hit Rick Moranis, I will find you. I will find you. We will all find you. Sorry, that was
so many good movies, dude. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid was such a good movie, dude. It stuck with me forever.
Underrated.
And Honey,
movie.
I Blew Up the Kid is underrated.
Well, I was gonna say Bully with Tom Arnold. Big
Yes.
Bully. Solid film.
Yes, he's a terrible writer. Comes back to his own home. Tom Arnold wants to be friends with him, and then realizes he's the kid that he bullied when he was a kid, and then just like it escalates real quickly to the point it's a little bit dark. It's a little bit dark.
Yeah,
well, he stole the moon, dude. He stole the moon rock. He basically should go to juvie forever.
He stole the moon rock, but then they put him in the cell, and he was with a kid who lit his mom on fire because she vacuumed her and lost in space.
Sorry. Again.
Yeah. I didn't have any friends growing up.
That's fine. Deep cuts. It's okay. It's okay. I had friends. I just anytime I wasn't with them, I just watched random movies because we had every movie channel. And no one ever was questioning what I was watching. So I saw a lot of everything. But okay. This is why I saw all the Child's Play movies by the time I was like 8, which probably
that's how he saw the Spice Channel, and that's why he has 4 kids now.
I got 2.
Two. I was joking.
I got 2 and then I got fixed like a gentleman.
I was joking.
Sorry. Darren Nguyen. Yes, we're talking about that fool. It's plus 130 versus Antonio Arroyo minus 150. I'm trying to calm myself because we all know how it goes when we get too disparaging on a fighter. Mikey Gills, here's hoping you could tone me down a little bit. Talk to me about Darren Nguyen versus Antonio Arroyo.
Yeah, sure. I don't think this is a make fun of anybody fight. So Darren Nguyen, 6-2, 4 knockouts, 7,300 on DraftKings. Lost his last 2 fights, most recently getting subbed by Gerald Mearshart back in March. Actually, we are going to make fun of him a little bit because he got boxed up by him a little bit. Anyway, solid wrestling background, average at best stand-up. Busier than he is technical. He's definitely going to want to get this fight against to the ground against Antonio Arroyo. 9-3, 4 knockouts, 4 subs, 8,900 on DraftKings. Lost his UFC debut. He's not the better resume of grappling in this fight, but you watch him, he is talented enough in his own right. Huge size advantage. That length can be nasty on the ground. Like if we're talking about that, like if he gets in trouble, he can probably work his way out with just his length alone. Let's see. I do think this is Arroyo's fight to lose. Like on the feet, Darren Nguyen doesn't show me anything that worries me. Like we were talking about, he just got outstruck by Gerald Mearshart. Khamzat Chimaev would have none of that. But a real problem for Nguyen is that Arroyo is just so much taller. He has a 9-inch height advantage. He's going to have a hell of a time getting inside just to try to hurt him. And then the other thing I talk about is I think we had to break him down before for another one, and that fight got canceled. You can go on YouTube and find a highlight reel of Arroyo with just his kicks. This dude throws some nasty kicks. And against a guy who's 9 inches shorter than him, that's not a lot of work to kick somebody in the head, especially if they're not that good with their striking. But with that being said, if Nguyen gets in on him and grabs a single, double, whatever, can pull him down to the ground, this could become a win fight. But I still do like Arroyo in this fight at 8,900. I think there's a good chance for a finish with Nguyen's limitation standing up. So 8,900, I think he could actually be a good play. But then again, Nguyen at 73 could also pull out a win with a decision.
Yeah, on this one, Nguyen is just, I don't like him. Bob don't like him. We just don't like him over here at the MMA for Money show. He just, but other than he wrestles good, which I love wrestling. Cool, dude. Go wrestle. Same fucking wrestling. This is mixed martial arts. He's going to be severely he's going to be he's going to have a reach detriment to him. But Anthony Arroyo's, like you said, going to be much longer. He's going to be able to kick him at range and hopefully keep the distance. The thing that I worry about, though, is that once you give yourself up, once you kick yourself or you start kicking, you open yourself up for takedowns. And someone with really good wrestling can really make you vulnerable to the takedown once you just you give it a leg. So I'm worried about that a little bit, but I just think that Arroyo is going to be bigger, stronger, longer, should be able to win this fight. I don't think that Nguyen deserves to be here in the UFC. I think he should go over to Bellator or PFL or somewhere else and just have some fun.
Mike Gills, I'm realizing that you don't know why we don't like Darren Nguyen. It's all clicking. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's like this, it clicked, so I'll let you know. There's always a reason why there's a fighter that we I don't want to say don't like, but have something against.
That I hate.
Yeah, well, yeah, you have strong
hate. I hope they die. I hope their children
you're a man of extremes.
No, I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Just breathe. It's okay.
Did you see Mike just rubbing his face when you started talking? He did this movie. He's like,
oh, dude,
well, my heart rate got lower.
You got to clear out any of the liquid. It's fine.
The heart rate got lower as I spoke.
So what happened was we bet Darren Nguyen, and we bet him at plus 115 against Darren Stewart.
Lord forgive me.
The fight that we're like, oh, dude, he's gonna Darren Stewart has wrestling, and he's not gonna have as superior wrestling as Darren Nguyen. He's gonna be able to toss him around. He's gonna skate. It's gonna be easy. He lost a split decision because big man. Well, you can't call him big man. Big little man. I mean, he's a weird combination. Didn't have the gas to push through for 3. And we just saw him as a quitter there on out. We didn't bet him against Gerald Merchant or anything like that because the signs were there then. Actually, I think we made money on Gerald Merchant, if I remember. I think we bet him in round 3, actually, because that's just the GM3 special.
I believe so.
But that's part of the reason. He is someone that has the skill, but it's actually worse than the Ayman Zahabi thing because Nguyen actually has some of like the necessary skill to be an elite fighter. He just chooses not to put his best foot forward. I don't know, like, I mean, too many Twinkies, I don't know, but like
diet
can't quite get to the appropriate
diet.
Dude, he is the height of most welterweights. And he fought at 205. This one's a catchweight at 195. And on top of the leg kicks you're talking about from Arroyo, I also can see some like really heavy body kicks going on in this fight. I mean, I know you worry a little bit about the takedown, but we both know Darren Nguyen doesn't have the gas for 3 rounds to take down for 3. Wrestling is tiring. Yeah. And Darren Nguyen, he just gets so tired.
You asked me to make a case. I was trying to do it.
You made a very valid point. And if he fights the way he even remotely should, that's all true. But we know that sometimes, like, I don't know if his last name is a curse and he just can't quite realize that, like, you actually have to do stuff to win. You don't just get to do it because it's in your name.
Oh, I thought you were saying he doesn't have the wind to do it, but whatever.
That would work. But either works. I actually like that one. I wish we would have gone with that one. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for a fighter without a gas tank. It is like, because it's one of the few things you control. Like, you might not have fight-ending punching power. That's true. You might not, like, no matter how much you try, you're not going to be as slick as like Dobronx is on the ground. I mean, you can drill, but you could have a gas tank if you can put in the work. And apparently Darren Nguyen just doesn't know how to put in that work. So no credit for him whatsoever. It's not a bet on the podcast right now, but I'm likely going to play Antonio Arroyo, especially if it gets any lower. I really like him here. I want to play him straight. So that's why I'm kind of like eyeballing it to see if it stays here, if it gets a little bit lower, but keep an eye on the Twitter for that. Next up, and I'm sorry, Mikey Gills, I've been trying to check since you were curious about the DraftKings numbers for this fight. I haven't found anything about it being canceled. So if it's not on there anymore, I don't know. But Carl Roberson minus 260 versus Dolce Lungambulu. I'm gonna count that as a win. Plus 220. Sorry for that before. We were talking about before. Apparently the DraftKings, like, it showed that he was off on DraftKings. I've been trying to find any information. I don't got anything yet. So if between when this show is recorded and you are listening to said show, this fight is not there, I'm sorry, but we're going to break it down anyway because that's what we're doing. Real Mike, Carl Roberson minus 260 versus Dolce Lungambula. I think that one was closer, plus 220.
Yeah, I like Roberson in this spot. I think that he's got more experience now. That he's just stronger. That he has just a little bit more to offer in mixed martial arts. I'm not going to personally bet or have anything to do with this fight. I don't like the number on Roberson because Dolce isn't like some slouch or someone just to look over as if he has no chance of winning, because he certainly can. I wouldn't ever bet him as a dog. I don't like him. I think that Roberson's going to win this fight, and he should win this fight.
Well, just as we just talked about, he's not available on DraftKings, so but his price was 9,300. Carl Roberson. So just getting right into him. Stylistically, just solid stand up. One thing I don't like about him when I watch him is that he can be taken down. Going to his opponent Dolce, who's going off for 6,900 on DraftKings, giving up 5 inches in height. So another kind of win situation where shorter guy can get in on you, maybe get those takedowns a little easier. And when you watch him on the ground, he does land some good ground and pound when he's down there, but on the feet is what I wanted to talk about, because that's where I think Roberson, who was my pick, is going to win. Because you watch Dolce fight, he does kind of get drawn into these wild exchanges, kind of like a fighter we were talking about earlier, and I think that's where he is going to lose this fight, and I think Roberson can crack him. So just I'll keep it short on that one. So it's just the better striker situation for me, Roberson. I just, for $9,300, considering all the prices we have, I'm hoping he doesn't have to get on the card, because if he wins, it's probably going to be by a knockout of some sort. So anyway, I'm talking too much. Carl Roberson's my pick.
For me, I do think Dolce has a chance to put Robertson out, because there will be some exchanges on the feet. Dolce's got a decent amount of power on him, but Roberson's Achilles heel is like someone with good takedowns and really strong top control, especially if they can throw strikes, because they usually soften them up and they can find their way to a sub or something like that. It's not necessarily Dolce's game, but he's willing to throw, and if you have two guys willing to throw, there's always a shot. So I don't like Roberson. Yeah, this is a little bit steep for me. So pick is Roberson, but I would not even put this in a parlay. DraftKings makes sense, but I wouldn't necessarily put it in a parlay because Dolce does have a shot. So I don't know. Moving on. Pani Kianzad plus 135 versus Sajara Eubanks minus 155. Mikey Gills, how are you feeling about this women's 135 pound?
I've got a barn burner here. Pani Kianzad 7,400 on DraftKings, going up against Sajara Eubanks 8,800 on DraftKings. My pick is Sajara Eubanks just right off the bat. I'll try to keep this one short too. We're going to talk about the Greg Hardy Tibera fight later. In certain divisions, you look at certain fighters, and I think athleticism alone can take you further than in certain divisions. And I think that's where Eubanks does have an advantage in this fight. If she can push Kianzad up against the cage, maybe kind of control her a little bit, throw against the cage and dirty box, and I think that's where she can win this fight. But I don't know. Kianzad, when you watch her fight, she has really good output. So if she can keep distance, Kianzad could win. But I'm not going to play this on DraftKings. I don't recommend it. Neither one of these are huge scores. If I was going to play one, it would probably be Kianzad at 74 just as an underdog. But I had no interest in DraftKings for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fight where I think Sarge should win. I think that she is the more dominant wrestler. She's stronger and she has the better attributes. But the problem with her gas tank is not trustworthy. I don't know what she's been doing. She's been eating Twinkies or ding dongs or what she's been doing over the break. So I don't know what we're gonna get with Sarge. With Penny, her striking is good. Her output is good, which is going to be a little bit superior than Sarge's. But that's only if she's not on her ass. I think she'll be on her ass for about 2 rounds at least. So I think that Sarge will be the winner of this fight. I think she should win this fight. If Sarge doesn't win this fight, she's a mental fuck up case similar to my brother.
Intentional pause. Sorry, this one was for sure, just because it's like I don't bet Sajara Eubanks fights. I just don't. She's very hit or miss on if she shows up or not, which is very evident by her record. I suppose she's just etching that much closer to a 500 record, which is for the UFC. We know that they don't like 500 records. I mean, I would assume that makes sense, but some people get upset when 500 or worse 500 fighters get booted. But this could very well happen next up. In general, I like Kianzad, but like I think Real Mike said it nice that like Joe Eubanks should win, but I don't do well with Eubanks fights, so I almost want to just go Kansas just because chaos. So sure, I'll go with the dog here. No bet whatsoever. No confidence whatsoever. Moving on. Oh wait, the next fight that I was really excited about happening and had a really heavy lean on what was going to happen got canceled. Al Mohamed versus Diego Limo is not happening. So that's the first one off, which knocks us down to 15. So by fight time, maybe we'll actually be at a normal 12-fight card. Next up, we have Anthony Pettis with his triumphant return to minus 230 versus Alex Morano plus 190. Real Mike, how do you feel about Anthony Pettis at 170?
I think that Pettis is washed up and that he probably should retire pretty soon. You know, it's sad to say he's a great, veteran of the sport, done great things here, but this is what have you done for me now lately and not what have you done for me. So I think that Morano's got a serious chance to win here. I think that Morano is being discredited because he's fought a couple tough guys and lost. He's been through some bangers. His last fight was Rice McKee. Those motherfuckers were dishing it out back and forth, and I don't think that Pettis could survive the onslaught that Rice McKee withstood on that round one. I think that I just would never lay this much money on Pettis, so I'm gonna go with Morano. I think Morano could win this fight if he pulls his head out of his ass.
Is Pettis washed? That's the question going into this fight for me. Pettis, better striker. Morano can maybe out wrestle him. One thing that is not being talked about right now is Anthony Pettis' contract's coming up. So the is he washed question is a big one. Does he think he's washed is kind of the bigger question. Is Anthony Pettis going to have that fire for this fight where he's like, you know what?
One second. James Lynch just heard that the Pettis actually signed a couple fight contract recently.
Oh,
so So just so you know.
Oh, well, there goes everything I was about to say. You could.
Sorry, I was trying to help you, bro. I was like, fuck, maybe. Hey, let me help my boy out real fast and throw him this curveball. No.
Anyway, all right. So, all right, never mind. Then Pettis is going to come in fat and lazy. He's already paid.
That was like Major League. That was like Major League, the movie when the dude. What's the dude who's praying to the dude to hit the ball?
Pedro Serrano.
Yeah, Pedro Serrano prays the little voodoo child to try to hit the curve. Joe Boo. Like you like pray to Joe Boo to hit the curveball. I threw you a curveball and you missed it, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, curveball bats are afraid. Straight ball I hit very much. Anyway, no, I was gonna pick Pettis to win this fight anyway, but at 9,200 on DraftKings, I'm not gonna bother with that. Again, Morano at 7,000. He could win this fight. He's a very live dog in my opinion. $7,000. There are worse underdog plays on this card. So if I was gonna go anybody on this with the people that I think are gonna score points at the higher end, there are people I trust more than Pettis, so Morano over Pettis.
Sorry, Mikey.
All good. I'm going to aid you in why you don't trust Pettis. And you have very good reason not to trust Pettis, okay? This is all true. This goes back to early Pettis. I'm talking like the moment when everyone was started getting obsessed with Anthony Pettis. And I'm a fan of Anthony Pettis. And I used to be a bigger fan, but we'll get to that. Anthony Pettis is an absolute sniper. He does not throw in combination ever. But he's a sniper, which means he's a finisher, okay? The older you get, those spots aren't there anymore. The speed is not there anymore. The snipes aren't there anymore to a much lesser degree. A couple things about Anthony Pettis. He has never done good striking backwards. He gets pushed up against the fence easily. This is all at 155. We're up at 170 now, but I'm talking about 155. But it all worked because he was a sniper. He would get these ridiculous finishes because he would picture him out and he'd be able to land because he was the faster, fresher fighter. He would land and he would get him, even in fights he was losing against some Gilbert Melendez. He was getting beaten that round and then just latches on the sub and then it's done. It's like so many times he snatched wins out of the jaws of defeat, but everyone always just remembers the finish. His output has always been dramatically low because, like I said, he does not throw in combination. His kicks have always been good. His boxing, less so. That's why anybody with a superior boxing game has been able to light him up for the most part over the portion of the fight. This is why it kind of has me lean toward Alex Morano because Alex Morano has some really high output for a welterweight. I think the stat that just went out, can't remember I got shared this Twitter account. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. They're doing stats, but more relevant stats. He throws out almost 6 strikes a minute, which is substantially high for welterweight. It's like top 7 all time. And that's not Pettis. Pettis is a single shot kind of guy. And I could just really see Alex Morano, the fact that we have a fight card where there's a Moreno and now we have a Morano right back to each other is killing me. I'm sorry. But seeing him just throwing multiple shots, driving Pettis back up against the cage and actually being able to outmuscle him, because I'm sorry, man, Pettis wasn't a big lightweight. Pettis was always talking about how he could drop to 45 and fight Aldo, which is odd because Aldo's on the same fight card, and never did it. And now he's at welterweight. I'm sorry, he's a tiny welterweight. He's getting beat in every welterweight fight. His only wins at welterweight is when he has fought against another lightweight at welterweight. Do not tell me about Wonderboy Thompson. He was losing every second of that fight until he sniped that shot. And that's a possibility. He might snipe that shot. But are you going to pay minus 230 for his possibility to snipe a shot on Alex Morano? I'm not leaning that way. So I'm starting to lean towards the dog here. If you can't tell, it's not a bet for the show. It might be a bet that I might make later. It's not an official bet or anything like that, but I'm just going to go with the picks on Alex Morano just because I know where Pettis has been lacking recently, and I do think that Morano can capitalize on that. Next up, the fight that every single person on this podcast has been waiting for. Jillian Robertson at minus 105 versus Talia Santos minus 115. Mikey Gills, I'm going to give it to you because I can see your excitement.
Yay.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid to talk.
Sorry, I couldn't
right
keep
now.
a straight face. I almost did.
Now I'm afraid to say anything because I called William Knight Anthony earlier. Then I got corrected on the contract for Pettis. Like I'm gonna say something here, and both of you are gonna like jump through the screen at me. I can't wait.
If it helps, I don't know a lot about either.
The contract thing, don't feel bad, bro. James Lynch corrected Die Hard Podcast MMA in the middle of his interview to tell him that too. So.
All right, so me and Die Hard are going to team up against you and James Lynch. It's going to be a free-for-all. I can't wait. Let's go. Anyway, start off with Jillian Robertson, 9-4, 1 knockout, 6 subs, going for 8,000 on DraftKings. No secret about Robertson's game plan. She's going to go at her opponent, push her up against the cage, try to get her to the mat. Super aggressive grappler, always hustling for submission. 7 stoppages in 9 fights. That's what you want to see out of your girls in DraftKings. Going up against Talia Santos, 16-1. 10 knockouts, 2 subs, 8,200 on DraftKings. 16-1 sounds super impressive, right? Super questionable in reality. Our combined career opponents before appearing on Dana White's Contender Series were 7-10, and only 3 of those had winning records. So right off the bat, a little questionable. Then she moves into another fraud in Almeida on Dana White's Contender Series, and then I messed that sentence up. And anyway, she immediately loses to Mauro Barella after that, who was awful. Stylistically, though, she does have some decent stand-up. And if she can keep this standing, she's going to give Jillian Robertson a lot of problems. But my pick is Jillian Robertson. I think she's been in there with the better competition. I think she can get inside of those strikes. She can get her up against the cage, drag her to the mat, like I said. And DraftKings, $8,000. I love her. She's going to always hunt for that submission. I think she can get it. Now, you guys tell me where I messed up.
No, you're good, bro. I think that Robertson's, she's the right side here. I think that her grappling is far superior. Women's MMA almost always hits the mat. I pretty much guarantee it hits the mat at some point. I think that Jillian's got a far superior ground game, and I'm talking about far superior. So if she gets the girls back, it's a wrap. I think that Robertson has a chance for a submission here and to keep her little thing going. But I think that she's the right side here.
I don't care. I don't have a heavy lean in this fight, and at like basically a pick 'em here, I usually default towards the dog play because a lot of these fights are so close that more often than not, it's similar to what we talk about lower level heavyweight fights. If you bet the underdog, always you're going to end up ahead. These fights are similar. Once you're in the outer top 10, like let's say you get about like rank 7-ish and beyond, bottom halves of the divisions, it's pretty much go with the dog. This one, obviously, it's so close to being a pick'em. I'll pick Jillian Roberts because red hair. Next up, Marcin Tybura plus 100 versus everyone's favorite Greg Hardy at minus 120. Real Mike, how you feeling about this mid-tier heavyweight fight?
Oh man, Marcin Tybura, is a better fighter, period. The only thing that Greg Hardy has on him is athleticism, possibly strength. I don't. It's so weird though. It's like I could see Greg Hardy hitting. I forgot his name now, dude. Tybura.
Tybura?
I could see Tybura getting hit by Greg Hardy and getting wobbled pretty badly and being on the floor, but he's got so much more experience. I think that he should be able to keep him at range, and it kind of be like he's sparred so many rounds and done so many things that it's like, if you can't beat Greg Hardy, bro, you should fucking quit, dude. Like you're really bad, dude. Like Greg Hardy, he was playing football like a week ago in the NFL, dude. Like I don't know. I don't know what you're doing if you can't beat him, bro. Like it's disgusting to me. I also think his jiu-jitsu is far better. It's something you haven't seen. So I think that Tybura could get him on the ground and submit him even.
All right, my turn to correct you, sir. He was most recently in the CFL. Take that. Anyway. Sorry. This kind of like the things that we were talking about earlier with the girls' fights. Heavyweight MMA is very dependent on your athleticism. Athleticism is its own skill in heavyweight MMA, and Hardy has that over Tybura in spades. Like Tybura, he did look a little better in his last fight as far as like physically, he's moving a little bit better. But I think both of these guys have a path to victory. Tybura probably has more paths to victory. He's very capable on the feet, and if he gets Hardy down, man, it's his fight right there. Problem is, when I see Tybura's takedowns, they don't impress me. And I think a guy who's been fighting off linemen his whole career is going to be able to shake off a couple of takedowns. And Hardy, he's faster on the feet. He's actually not terrible, and he's evolving. He's getting better every time out. Man, I have a tough one with this one. My Tybura is at 7,700 on DraftKings. Again, he does have a more paths to victory. Greg Hardy's at 85, and if he wins, it's almost certainly going to be a knockout. This is a tough fight for me to call. I guess I'm going to lean Tybura just on experience, but man, it's not a strong lean. I would not be surprised at all if Hardy wins this. Actually, if I had more balls, I would just go ahead and pick Hardy.
Don't bet this fight.
Yeah, it's not going to be in my DraftKings lineup, I don't think. So, yeah, now Tybura is the pick, I guess.
What we've always talked about is low-level heavyweight MMA. I talked about this a little bit before, and this one I think you could still consider lower-tier heavyweight MMA. This is not top 5 heavyweight. It's a little bit different per division, but heavyweight, it's like top 5 or 6. You typically go with the dog for a lot of reasons, because typically the dog is the guy in heavyweight MMA lines who is not as skilled, but maybe has a power advantage and athletic advantage. And just like McGill said, that's his own category in heavyweight MMA. It's a very good line. It very accurately depicts most heavyweight fights. Although we're here on the other side now, where Tybura is the underdog versus Greg Hardy at the -120. This is why there's no bet for me on this one, because Greg Hardy is someone that has enough paths to victory and enough upside, because he's still getting better, that I'm like, hey, you know what? I mean, there's some X factors there. He may have gotten a little bit better. Maybe he can throw a little bit more in combination. Okay, I like that. Okay, I'll bet him as a dog. I'm not going to bet him as the favorite. I'm not. And I'll quick check for you guys. I think last time I checked it, it wasn't worth mentioning, but unless that has changed, maybe him in some type of prop. I mean, I've been doing a little bit better with props, but I still try to stay away from them as a rule. Him by TKO is +145. And I mean, he's not going to get the sub unless Tybura taps to strikes. So +145 might be your path. Him in round 1 is +275. I don't know, that's not as much worth the squeeze as you might say. But so normally you go with the more athletic guys, the guy with that path to a finish. You want to go with the guy with the path to a finish. But also you're doing with Greg Hardy, who does not have 3 rounds of gas. He has to fight very reserved to be able to have the same output through 3 rounds. I agree. Tybura is the better fighter, but then you're hoping, because Tybura doesn't, although he has finished fighters, he does not have one-shot knockout power. So if he's going to win, it's likely going to be decision. But then that's 3 rounds that he has to avoid getting completely taken out by Greg Hardy, which I think is a pretty tough ask. Like you said, the dude, he has a good amount of power and everything there. I'm just staying away from this fight in general. I've been trying to find better odds for you guys, because even Tybura by decision is only +205, which by decision for a heavyweight is not very good numbers there. So I'll pick Greg Hardy just because he does have the higher upside. He has the more possibility of a finish, in my opinion, but there is no bet on this one whatsoever for me. We're going to move on to a much better fight, or at least a more action-packed fight. We might get a little decisive on. I'm not sure where you guys fall on it, but Marlon Moraes, the one-time WSOF longtime champion, versus Rob Font plus 120. Mikey Gills, Marlon Moraes, Rob Font here at 135.
All right, if you're listening, do me a favor. Start a stopwatch in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. By the end of the sentence I'm saying now, that will be about as much time as it's been since Moraes was knocked out in his last fight by Sandhagen.
11 seconds.
That scares me. That scares me. Moraes, 9,000 on DraftKings. He's explosive, more powerful, more diverse attack. He can wrestle if he needs to. If he can jump out to a lead, I think maybe before he starts to slow down, he can cruise to a decision. Or, I mean, he has the ability to put him away too. Let's not kid ourselves. He's a finisher. Going up against Rob Font, 7,200 on DraftKings. Super crisp hands, great boxer. Just my question marks, the recent KO and the fact that Moraes, big guy for the division, with the knockout, you usually get a no training thing put in after that. How's his weight? Is he going to be able to make that cut? I know we talked about last episode that the cuts haven't been scaring us as much lately, but this one kind of does a little bit. And especially against a guy like Font, who's not going to slow down. He's got really solid hands, and he can keep you busy the whole fight. My leans Moraes. I don't think Font's been tested to the level that he hasn't been tested to the level that Moraes has. And he's a big step up from Sergio Pettis and Ricky Simone. So my leans Moraes. I like him in this fight, but I will keep those X factors in mind when it comes to laying. How much was it? 9,000 on DraftKings. But again, the pick is going to be Moraes.
Yeah, in this fight, Moraes, if he didn't just get knocked out, it would be a clear just pick from Moraes. I think that he's the more well-rounded striker. He's got better kicks. He's got better striking just in general. I don't see him being really taken down and controlled by Font because that's not really Font's game. But Font's actually a pretty big dude for a division. I think he's actually going to be a little bit bigger than Moraes is when they weigh in and after on fight day. But I think that the boxing of Font is really crisp and it's nice, but he lacks the leg kicks. I think that Moraes supplies to probably get, put out the volume to get a win here. I think this is a spot for Marlon Moraes to get a W. I don't see the Font having the takedown game or the jiu-jitsu to make this the match that it needs to be for him to be superior. Much like last week, Tony Ferguson didn't have the jiu-jitsu to match or be greater than Charles Oliveira. I don't think he's got the better striking here, and I think that that's where he loves to be. So I think the Magic Marlon Moraes finally gets a win here.
This one's just interesting because obviously I think Moraes has, in general, more skill, more finishing ability, like a lot of check marks go into his ledger there for this fight. I do think this is way too soon after he's been finished. That's major. That's a major thing. But let's look at Marlon Moraes's fights in the UFC, specifically in the UFC. Split decisions haven't been his best friend. If it goes decision, it's usually a split. He's in close fights, and that's because he is amazing early and then fades later. This could be a fight where he has Rob Font dead to rights at the end of the first round and borderline a 10-8, if not a 10-8, and then Font chips away at him and wins the next two, getting whether it be a terrible or justified decision. My pick is Moraes. I do think he has better ability all around here, not a bet because he has his fluky spots. If I was betting this fight and watching live, like I said, I don't typically do that. But for those of you that do and have access to live bets, after the first round, where Moraes is going to look the best he's going to look in the entire fight, you can get Font, who you might have a lean on, at anywhere from plus 200, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. It depends how close that first round is and how close Moraes may get to a finish. So if you like Font there, might as well just wait till then. You're going to get a better number after the first round regardless. So, because Font's going to lose the first round. Hate to break it to you. Font's going to lose the first round. And when he loses the first round, you'll get a better number on him. So if you're willing to do that, bet Font there. But my pick here is Moraes. I guess we'll see how he looks coming back after getting finished like that, if he still has anything, because he has a lot of wear and tear and a lot of fights. But you know what? None of this really matters. It really doesn't, because the next fight is phenomenal. The next fight makes up for anything. Like this I would pay for this fight, just this fight. I would pay $10 to $20 just for this singular fight. Michel Pereira, yes, that crazy dude, -120 versus Chaos Williams. I don't care if his real first name isn't Chaos, straight Chaos Williams, +100. Real Mike, talk to me about this just utterly ridiculous display of violence, testosterone, and capoeira.
Man, well, like last week, the Tony Ferguson Oliveira fight was pretty much the fight to look at for me, but this is going to be the fight of the week for me. I think that these two guys are going to throw some absolute fireworks. It's going to be some crazy shit from Michel Pereira, but I think at the end of the day that Chaos Williams is the real deal. I think that the power behind his hands and the devastation that he holds, and also the fact in his mind that he's been doing it in the streets for a long time. It's not just a guy that coming into the cage now and started training. This motherfucker's been knocking dudes out cold on the streets for a long time. So I think that Michel Pereira, his gas tank is his biggest detriment. I think that if he gets into round 2 even, he'll be gassed. I think that if he gets hit by one Chaos right hand, that he'll be down on the ground and looking stupid. And if not, by round 3, Michel Pereira will be so gassed that our boy Chaos will have 2 rounds. So this will be, I'll let Bob get into it on this one. But I like this fight a lot. I think Chaos Williams is going to roll here, and we'll let Bob get into the pick.
Well, I had to write it down when you said it. Testosterone and capoeira. Like, by the time I die, I hope if someone writes a book about me, that can be the title. That's phenomenal.
I mean, give me a week, I could write a little novella.
But just this fight, I a lesser title that I had written down was the Christmas gift to the fans. Pereira I'll try to make this pick simple. One of these guys is going to show up to knock the other one dead and collect a bonus check. The other guy might show up to try to do that, but he's also going to show up to do backflips. So with that in mind, my pick is Chaos Williams. We're running a little long today, so I'll just skip straight to it. The pick is Chaos Williams, $7,900 on DraftKings. I have my reasons, of course, but I think he's going to be a great DraftKings pick. If I was up to me, I would have switched these prices around. Pereira's going off at $8,300. Chaos Williams 11-1. This guy, he just hits different. He's fast, he's aggressive, and if he connects once on Pereira, he's just going to follow him until he falls down and stays down. So Chaos Williams, let's go.
24-11. I want you guys to really soak in that record. 24-11. That is Michel Pereira's record at 27 years old. He has fought a lot. He has lost a lot. And don't get me wrong, we had him the last time out versus Imadeev, because we were like, hey, if he fights remotely smart, he's got this, because Imadeev didn't have the power, so he can fight more reserved and he can win the fight. And he did, and that's awesome. He is not going to fight reserve when Chaos Williams punches him in the face. There's just no way. Chaos Williams is going to come forward. He's going to come forward, and Pereira is going to accept that. And I'm sorry. I know people don't always like when we go on the movie deep cuts, and this is going to go either way, because some people are very pro the movie Never Back Down, and there's some people that are very against the movie Never Back Down. But this is very much like when the crazy capoeira dude starts doing crazy flips in the air, and then the antagonist of the movie just one-shots him midair and he falls flat. This is the closest of that happening in the UFC. That could legit happen as long as you superimpose and switch the skin tones. This could be exactly what happened in that movie. Like, I'm not just, life is not a movie, I understand that, but like I said, yeah, Chaos Williams' power is ridiculous. He comes forward, he has length, and he knows how to use it. Dude knows he's there for damage. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry, like there's just too much going on. I can't do it. I just straight can't do it. Michel Pereira can't not throw ridiculous stuff. That's usually how he gets his finishes because people don't see it coming for the most part. That's why he gets illegal knees and why he gasses out. I'm like, Chaos Williams is going to keep coming forward. He's going to put some serious power on you. So right now, at this very moment, he was a little bit higher before. I'm sorry we didn't record then, although you probably wouldn't get at that price anyway. Right now, Chaos Williams is plus 100. He is a dog to put out Pereira. He's a dog to put out Pereira when he's going to put out Pereira. Like this line is so confusing to me. The odds, I think, are flipped as well. And he was even a bigger dog earlier when I looked at this fight and when I had originally circled it to talk about. We are going to bet Chaos Williams here at the plus 100. I think this is an absolute gift of an amount. This is the biggest no-brainer on the card for me. And it's going to be just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful chaos. Again, I realize that I say chaos a lot, but it's not because of his name. I usually say that all the time. This is just the wonderful serendipity that is UFC, that you have someone with his name actually as chaos. And there's a K in there because he KOs you. It's just this, it's a mesh. It's beautiful. Next up in the co-main event, we're back here at 135. The longtime featherweight king, Jose Aldo, is here at minus 140 versus Marlon Chito Vera plus 120. Mikey Gills. Can Scarface do it one more time?
Yeah, Jose Aldo going for 8,600 on DraftKings. Marlon Vera at 7,600. And I guess I'll just skip right to the meat of it again. I can't in good conscience go from picking Marlon Vera to lose to Sean O'Malley and then 4 months later picking him to beat Jose Aldo. Can't do it. I just can't. It's not something I could ever bring myself to do. This is a 3-round fight. Aldo is not going to slow down like he does in the 5-rounders towards the later half of his career. It's kind of like Great White Hype, that scene where the trainer's like, "Oh, Champ's fine. He knows how to breathe in there." Like that's kind of what I see for Aldo right now. Aldo's still a dog, whatever way you want to cut it. If you pressure that guy into a real fight, he will meet you halfway every single time. A crazy, diverse arsenal. He still has it, and anything he throws is with bad intentions. 34 years old, feels like he should be 44, but he's still not that old. I mean, in fight years, he's 73, but whatever. Aldo's my pick, 8,600 on DraftKings. I think he could cash out. Vera, 76. I just don't see it. I just don't see it over Aldo unless Aldo shows up old. That happens to fighters, but for me, Aldo's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, I have a rule, the OG versus the new guy. Chito Vera is the new guy when it comes to the UFC caliber type fighting and how long Aldo's been here. Experience level is crazy. The black belt level of Aldo supersedes Vera's jiu-jitsu, so he's fucked there. I think that the hands and kicks of Aldo are better if Aldo implements his fucking leg kicks like he never likes to do as much as he used to. But if he really comes in and he decides to throw those leg kicks like he can, he could really, really damage the thin legs of Marlon Vera. I have, the Hispanics don't necessarily have the thickest lower legs. I'm half Hispanic, so I can say that. I got some chicken legs. I don't want to be kicked in the damn lead leg. Marlon Vera very much so has that same kind of lead leg. I think that he can be damaged by Aldo quite easily. And then what's he going to do? Roll on the ground after he's been damaged and beat Aldo and submit him? No, not even fucking going to happen. Jose Aldo is Jose Aldo. He's been here. He might have lost a few fights versus some savages. But, dude, every single fight that he's lost, he gave me some haymakers from hell that scared the shit out of me, that, even versus Max Holloway. So I don't think that Marlon Vera is the guy. Like you said, Sugar Sean O'Malley, that was a close fight for me to call. This is different. I'm going to go with the OG Aldo. You're going to have to show me something for me to pick you, Vera. But I think Aldo, the OG, is going to roll here.
Honestly, this one doesn't really matter where I pick it. Not in a mean way. This is a fight I see going not only to decision, but likely split decision. It's more than likely going to decision, and it's just going to be depending what you score on this one. So normally I would say if it's going to be that close, go the dog. But I don't know. Through 2 rounds, I really like Aldo. Not saying he because he has more than enough gas tank for 3. He really does. And his boxing has come along in an amazing way. and I don't like everyone always talks about the leg kicks, him not doing those anymore. I've heard about him having hip issues. That could be, I don't know, but his boxing has always been good. Throwing combination, lateral movement, like it's all been beautiful. And Cheeto has come such a long, long way from when he was first in the UFC. But I don't know. I want to pick Aldo, but this also just, I don't know if this is going to be the sad fight of the night or not.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Dude, I don't want to say it.
It won't be like, it's not going to be like last week.
Well, I know, but it's just like, it just seems that we're in this weird, huge momentum shift over the last, like, let's say 8 months, where an entire generation of fighters that we all liked, because we're in like enough of a, like, we all probably became fans at a similar time frame. So like all those guys that were on the come up when we started watching, that we became huge fans of, are all starting to taper off now, and I'm not doing well with it.
Well,
go ahead.
now I was gonna say, think of all the physical advantages that the fighters had last week to create the sad moments. Cyril Gaines, just a physical freak. He belongs like in a lab somewhere. Kevin Holland has the Space Jam reach. Vera doesn't have any of that really over Aldo. And I think we were talking about the kicks. Aldo is a prideful guy. I mean, if he starts getting hit with kicks, I don't think he's going to sit there and take them. I think Aldo's going to start. He's going to you want to kick? I think that might actually get him back into that. So that would be my take on it anyway.
Well, I'll put it this way: my pick is Aldo. I don't trust this Aldo enough with my money at -140. If he was the dog here, I would play him. But I've just been burned by him in split decisions. Like, I bet him against Marlon Moraes at dog money, and that split decision bit me. Like, I just see it happening again, man. So I'm staying away. Pick is Aldo. In the main event, this could possibly be another sad moment. Who knows? Stephen Thompson +100 versus Jeff Neal there at -120. Real Mike, how are you feeling about the Wonder Man versus Texas Roadhouse?
Oh man, it's like Jeff Neal to me is like the tougher dude, like in the streets or something like that. But the Stephen Thompson is a world-class kickboxer, and it's just like, it's really troubling me to think about, like, how's Jeff gonna? He's got the first round. He's gonna have a big burst, and he's gonna do well. He's gonna have to catch Wonderboy Thompson and put him out. I'm having a hard time seeing it. And I'm also seeing, Thompson, he moves so well, and he's so versatile. It's a weird one, man. I don't really like this fight. I'm gonna say that Thompson has the striking to be able to win this fight, being smart and point fighting. Just far superior in the striking department, in my opinion. Not the power department, but just overall striking, volume, and point fighting. It's crazy to me that I just don't see Jeff being the guy, man. But he definitely can knock him out. But I'm gonna go with Wonder Boy.
I want to say something. I want to see if you guys are going to talk me out of this, because I have a lean, but it's based in something, and maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But the one thing that you see from Wonder Boy in a lot of his fights is like a reluctance to get into a firefight. Like, he uses that karate style that he has, a lot of sniper stuff. And sometimes that's to his detriment, where he just doesn't throw enough and guys come in at him. We talk a lot about Apex, Fight Island, things like that, or wherever we are with these fights that were happening right now. The smaller cage with a guy like Jeff Neal, the boxing style that he's going to bring to it, in that smaller cage, not as much room to run. Does the smaller cage actually help Wonder Boy? Conventional wisdom might be that, he's not going to have enough places to run. But if that forces Wonder Boy to fight, now all of a sudden you've got an amazing kickboxer, an amazing karate style point fighter guy, a sniper, who's just going to be throwing twice as much as he normally would. Like, before I make the pick, like, am I crazy? What do you guys think about that?
No, it makes sense. You think the bigger ring will favor the movement of Wonder Boy in general, but if it makes him get in a firefight and put more volume. But yeah, he's super hesitant, and that the hesitancy comes from, he's not a savage. Yeah. Like I said, he ain't the guy that wants to be dropped in an alley and start fucking fools up. He's the guy that he showed up to class real good. He got the belts, and he's real good at kicking, and he's got all those little accolades there, similar to Ben Askren. But I don't know, man. I think Wonder Boy's got it.
Well, the question is the point of, if it makes him engage, That's true. If the smaller cage is gonna and Jeff Neal are forcing him to engage, and he actually engages, your idea here is 100% right. It just depends if it's going to make him throw. Because if all it's doing is if it's making Jeff Neal easier to cut off the cage and take away space from him, but he's still not going to throw, then it's a moot point. But if it legit gets him to like actually throw and throw in combination and like throw power shots and stuff like that, I'm 100% with you. It just depends if that switch goes off in Wonder Boy or not.
Yeah, anyway, that's my lean. That's my lean in this fight. My lean is that Wonder Boy is going to realize that there is no place to run, and he's going to start throwing back at this guy. And I think over the course of 5 rounds, even if he doesn't put him away, I think he's going to land enough to make those 5-round points worth it. And Wonder Boy at 7,800 against Jeff Neal, just, man, this Wonder Boy's been there. He's been in those 5-round fights. He's done it. I know he can land. 7,800. I like him in this. I like him win this fight, and at 7,800, I like him as a DraftKings play. You usually want to have one of those 5-round fighters in your DraftKings lineup, and I like Wonder Boy for it. So he's my pick, and I'm gonna put him in our lineup.
We don't bet main events. I'm repeating that to myself because no,
I was gonna fire on Wonder Boy maybe this weekend, and I was like, nope, we don't do main events
because that's it. This doesn't make sense to me. These odds do not make sense to me. But I'm worried, again, I'm doing that thing where I'm thinking of Stephen Thompson at his best, and dude's going to be 38 in a month and a half versus Jeff Neal, who's about to hit his prime at 30, finally training full-time, all of these great things, who has finishing ability. I'm not sure if I'm overvaluing the Stephen Thompson of old. Whereas to me, in a 5-round fight against someone who's never fought 5 rounds before, Stephen Thompson will be able to stay at range and snipe him and frustrate him by staying too far away from his return strikes. But I don't bet main events, and I've been wrong recently with trying to stick with the aged fighter that may or may not still have it. So my pick is Stephen Thompson. I am not betting this at all. I am staying away. And honestly, for in terms of the division, and then just as a fighter that I like and like watching, I'd be totally cool with Jeff Neal winning. I really would, especially since I don't have any money on it. But I'm very confused by the odds here. Stephen Thompson at +100. That's just, I think I don't understand how he's not minus like this. To me, this is the Vicente Luque fight, like 2.0. I mean, Neal has a little bit more finishing ability, but he's also not as good on the ground as Vicente is. And Thompson won that fight fairly easily.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel.
I'm very frustrated, but I'm not going to bet on this whatsoever. But pick Stephen Thompson. There's no bet on it, so I'm going to stay away from talking about it. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going. So, Mikey Gills.
Yes.
What is our DraftKings lineup for UFC Vegas 17?
All right, I'm excited about this one. I'm going to start off with the hometown guy. Tafon and Chukwi, $9,400 on DraftKings. Throws hard as hell, throws at bad intentions, and with Pickett style, it's only a matter of time before Tafon hurts him bad and gets him out of there. I like him for the finish, and I hope it happens early. Next up, Draco Rodriguez, 9,100. He's super aggressive, finished 6 of his 7 career wins, and more importantly, I think he's the only one in this fight that really seems to be taking their career as a fighter seriously. I think he goes out there to prove that he belongs, and he scores big in the process. Next up, Jillian Robertson. I had success with getting the female finish last week. I think I'm going to get it again this week. $8,000. And again, if she can get this fight to the ground, I think it's her playground. I see another submission for her. Next up, Chaos Williams. I'm right in line with you guys. I think these prices should be reversed. I don't think Pereira sucks at all, but he's got a little bit too much PT Barnum in him, and Chaos isn't there for the show. You know, he's there to get both halves of his check and the bonus. And for DraftKings especially, Chaos is absolutely the type of guy you want in your lineup when he wins. We just talked about him. Stephen Thompson, $7,800. Typically with DraftKings, like we said, you want to have one of the 5 rounders on your card. Wonder Boy isn't always in the business of the highest scoring. And I know, again, like we just talked about, some people are going to see the smaller cage as a disadvantage. In this particular fight, I see it the opposite way. It's what we just talked about, where I think it might force him to be busier. So if that happens, Stephen Wonderboy at $7,800, I like him a lot. Last up, I get to make the pick again. Cody Durden, $7,500. He's actually cheaper this week than he was 2 weeks ago. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, he was $7,700. So Cody Durden, I'll take him at $7,500. Out of all of the underdogs on the card, I like him the best. I think physically, he's a physically stronger guy, much better on the feet. He's going to dictate where this fight goes. And even if it does hit the ground, I think he can stay out of trouble and stay busy in the process. So again, just starting from top to bottom, in Chukwi at 9,400, Draco Rodriguez at 91, Jillian Robertson at 8,000, Chaos Williams at 79, Stephen Thompson's at 78, and Cody Durden at 75. This lineup leaves you $300 to play with. So if you wanted to get somebody out of there on the at the top end and put in somebody else you like, or at the turn, like let's say you don't like who are we just talking about? If you didn't like Chaos Williams, you wanted to put Pereira in there, you can afford him. But I like this lineup a lot, and I'm excited. Can't wait.
Listen right now. For everyone watching live or listening after the fact, listen right now. This is normally the outro. This is still the outro. The outro is going to be a little bit different because we have some information to pass along to you guys. Yes, yes, yes. This weekend, December 19th, is the last UFC card until January 16th. That's nearly a month. Now, because of that, listen. We will not be back next week. We are taking the week of Christmas off. But part of that is because we'll be back the following week, the week of New Year's Eve, of New Year's Day, to have our very own end of the year award show. We are figuring out all of the logistics to get this down to make it as great as possible, whether it be new categories, the old standard categories, all that kind of stuff. We're figuring out. We're doing some workshopping here. I might even get classy. I might even get a haircut and get a beard trim. Who knows? Maybe we'll adjust to the nines. I haven't decided. We haven't even talked about it yet. But all of those things can possibly happen. Obviously, DM any one of us or the show with any ideas you may have. Maybe we'll have a Q&A section. I don't know. We're just throwing stuff in the air, see what lands. But don't forget to subscribe to us on your platform of choice. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, RSS feed. Otherwise, you're going to miss that show. It's going to be a straight good show. Maybe, probably more movie references. I could only assume. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube for both full-length shows, smaller tidbits, which I've been writing down. We'll get those out to you guys later on this week. Like, comment, and share on your platform of choice. Spread the word, man. We all know you have more than one social media. Like, everyone has more than one social media. Spread it out, man. Share the love. And with that, let's roll.
Good show, guys.